We're now joined on the Sports Mix by the head coach of Musselman football, Brian Thomas. Coach Thomas, your team kicks off the season with a 40-21 loss against University. What were your overall thoughts on that game?
I didn't think we played very well. When you play a good team, sometimes that's because of things that they do well, and then sometimes that's they can force you into doing bad things when you play a good team like that. Part of it was that, and I just think part of it was we didn't perform quite like I thought we were going to perform. So, it's disappointing a little bit just because I felt like we were in the game. I felt like, we had plenty of opportunities in the game. We couldn't quite get over that hump.
Coach, you mentioned it. You guys were in the game, just following along with the score. Honestly, I was a little bit surprised just because of the way you talked about University. Wasn't sure what to expect from your team, but what were some of the positives that you did see early in the game that allowed you guys to stay in it?
Yeah, you guys. You guys just see the scores, right? Like, you don't see. Have you got a chance to watch anything inside and out?
No.
Haven't got to watch anything. I know the glaring issue, I guess negatively, was, I believe, 5 or 6 turnovers for your team. Yeah. That exactly. Like, we had the ball inside the 10-yard line twice and came out with 0 points. We had 6 turnovers, and one of them was a pick six, and the other one, there was another one that they almost returned it all the way. It went down to like the 1 or 2 yard line. So, that's the biggest thing. The biggest thing is just we didn't really play situational football well, and ultimately at the end of the day, that's my fault. When you turn the ball over too much, we obviously haven't emphasized that or worked on that enough. Which, we work on that. Just I guess not enough. So we gotta. We got to put more emphasis on taking care of the football and not force. I mean, you're not going to beat anybody. You guys watch sports all the time, and shoot, man, tell me the last time you watched a football game with a team at any level that had turned the ball over 6 times and won the football game. Chances probably aren't really that high. So, there's no sweet spots when you lose, but at the same time, we turned the ball over 6 times. 2 other times we had the ball inside the 10-yard line and didn't score, and you lose the game by 3 touchdowns. So, you swing one of those here or there. Most of the game it was a 2-score game. We just couldn't quite cut it to 1. We fell down 13-0. That was the score at the end of the first quarter. We fell down 13-0 really early. In the rest of the game, we were pretty even. But yeah, we were in a hole and then just couldn't catch up, and it was disappointing. Just because I felt like we were a lot better than what we did on Friday night. Guess what's been the focus, or what will be the focus for your team this week?
Just we got to keep getting better. We got to keep practicing tough. We've had some really good practices with this team since August started. Really, the whole month of August. Now we're in September. We really had a good month of August with our practices, and just because we lost one game and we're sitting here now with an 0-1 record doesn't mean that now we can practice any less harder. So we just got to keep getting better. The good teams, you watch really good teams, and really good teams improve so much over the course of a season, and we still have a really long road ahead of us. So we just have to keep improving. And by the end of the year, I think we can be a really good football team. I think we're a good team now. It's just we got to continue to get better so we can take that next step.
And with all the guys you had coming back, obviously it was a young group of guys, but to see their development and some of the positive things that you took away from Friday night, and knowing now maybe you guys can compete once again with some really top-level competition like University, what does that do for the team moving forward?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, because I think our kids were like I said, nobody's happy after a loss, but at the same time, we're sitting there in the fourth quarter of the game, and it's a 2-score game, and we have the ball, and the conversations are, hey, guys, let's punch this in. Let's cut this thing to a 1-score game. So, we were and last year that wasn't always the case with us. Last year there were times where There were many times in the fourth quarter where there were a lot of running clocks, and we were just trying to hang around, and to be able to, to be able to fight a little bit and to be able to push. I think that was a good thing. But like I said earlier, we're not happy that we lost. We don't. We're not celebrating those facts, but, we are celebrating the fact that, hey, we did some good things. Now we just have to be more consistent. I think that's the biggest thing with us is we have to be consistent in what we do. We have to get a little bit more football smart in what we do. And that, that starts with me. That's stuff that I'm going to have to teach better, and we're going to have to do better as a team is just understanding situations and scenarios.
Looking ahead now to this week's game, you guys have Loudoun Valley. What have you seen, if anything, from them so far?
Yeah, they have a really good running back, with one of the best running backs that we're going to see all year. He's super fast, a lot of speed. They can really put pressure on you. Really, I don't want to look ahead, but the next 2 weeks we play we play this young man from Loudoun Valley this week, and then we play Wheeling Park next week. So we're going to see some really good running backs. But the young man from Loudoun Valley, he's fast, he's quick. They have a lot of team speed. They have a lot of size up front. This is our third year playing them, and every year we've played them, they've had good size. So it's definitely going to be a big test. They usually finish at the top of their conference in Loudoun County, so they're going to be a really good team, and we're going to they're going to play smart. They're a really smart team, so we have to be ready to go on Friday for sure.
Coach, to kind of follow up on something you said about you having to get better as a coach. How do you think you've grown as a coach over the last year and then heading into this year with everything that happened last year at the transfers? And then I guess this year, too, you were able to go out and get a lot of new guys to the team, but those guys don't necessarily have that football experience. So, maybe you go from coaching guys that have been in your program for 3 or 4 years to a lot of new players. How have you developed as a coach, and what's that been like, I guess, experiencing something maybe a little bit different within the program?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I've changed a lot over the coach as a coach. Probably my worst years that I was ever there. This is my 13th year here as the head coach, and those first couple of years were the worst I was. If I could go back and change those, I probably would change some things. I think every coach should grow over time. I became a better coach when I became a father. When I first started coaching the first couple of years, I didn't have my own kids, so I didn't look at kids as in how would I treat that like if it was my son. So when I had a kid, I started thinking about kids. I started thinking about young men more like that. How would I act if that was my son? And then even now, I think I continue to grow, and I continue to change. Like I said, I think any coach would do that. You try to care for the kids and you try to teach them stuff. And the older I get, the more, when I was young, it was all about win. And I want to win. I'm super competitive, but at the same time, I know there's a lot more to life than, when you win or lose. I know one day, hopefully when I get to heaven, that God's not going to open the book out and say, hey, let's look at your win-loss record. It's going to be more about, can you help people grow? And I had a lot of good coaches do that for me in my life. I went to Hedgesville, and I can tell you Kelly Church taught me a ton in my life. He helped me grow as a young man and as a player. And I've had, he's not the only one. I've had a lot of other coaches that helped me in my life. And I don't know. I try to give that back to kids a little bit. So, you mentioned when you get kids coming in and I think the transfer rule is ridiculous, but, we have got a couple of new kids in this year. We got a lot of seniors that didn't play in the years past. We got a lot of first-year players, too. So I think you just bring those kids in and you try to teach them a little bit of how to be a good person, how to work hard, how to be tough in life, because those are the things that they're really going to need when they get older. And then, hopefully that can help you win some football games if you do those things correctly.
What's your game plan currently heading into the Friday night against Loudoun Valley?
Well, hopefully we start out faster than we did last week. You know, we don't want to be in a 2-touchdown hole again. You know, that's not going to be a good thing. So we got to have a good first quarter. And then some of the things we mentioned earlier, we can't turn the ball over 6 times again. If we do, we're not going to win. You know, you're not going to beat anybody turning the ball over like that. So we got to take care of the football. You know, we don't really want the game to be a shootout at the same point. You know, we don't want it to be a 50-50 game or anything like that. So, you know, if we can hang around, and last year we did. Last year we went into the fourth quarter. This was a 21-21 game, and we ran out of gas. So hopefully, you know, hopefully we can keep it tight and we can play them close. We have a lot more depth this year and a lot more guys. So that first half's going to be big for us. If we can play a really good first half and be within striking distance, then I think our confidence will go up. You know, being another home game.
Coach, you mentioned it. You guys saw them last year. What are some of the differences? What are some of the things that are the same?
They're very similar, you know, and I know their coach, Dave Bishop. He does such a good job with them, and they're very similar. They do a lot of the same things, and sometimes, you know, I don't mean that negative. Some people think like, oh, he's saying they're exactly the same. I think that's a compliment, just because, you know, good teams and good programs, their culture kind of gets them in a rhythm. So, yeah, they're a good football team. They're very disciplined. They don't make a lot of mistakes. You know, they line up correctly. You can tell they're really well coached in a lot of things that they do. So I kind of know what to expect a little bit from them, and I don't mean that. You know, I'm not saying we got it all figured out. I'm just saying, you know, when you face a good program like that with a good coach like that they're going to be they're just going to be ready to play. So we have to try to match that. We have to try to make sure our kids are ready to play as well.
All righty, Coach Thomas. Any other final thoughts? If not, we'll get straight to the fun question for you.
I don't think so, man. I think that's it.
All right. You want to ask it since it was your idea,
yeah,
Nick?
Sure. Simple one this week, Coach. When you guys head out for the coin toss, do you call heads or tails?
You know, I don't even care about the coin toss. I don't tell the kids that we send out. We always change up who goes out for the coin toss. I don't tell them what to call. I usually tell them whether I want the ball or whether I want to defer. But then I don't even tell them what end zone to defend from, because really, once we get out there and the coin toss is done and you get done getting ready for the game, all I hear is I usually hear somebody yell, kick return. I have no idea if we won the toss or not. So, I don't know. If I was picking, I mean, you got to go with the old adage, tails never fails.
Amen. That's my motto.
I don't know. If you know what it is, then you're watching. Then maybe you're watching those Super Bowl. Don't they do all those crazy Super Bowl props?
They do.
There you go. If you know the answer to that question, then you'll be a millionaire.
All right. Thank you for the time, Coach Thomas. Best of luck Friday.
Thank you, Coach.
Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate all you do.
Thank you.